Right now, Lake Delton police have made an arrest months after a 2-year-old girl was abducted from her bedroom.
And Sun Prairie community members are learning how to use Narcan. We'll hear from a woman who says this kind of information could have saved her daughter's life.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 6.
We start tonight with breaking news at the Channel 3000 Alert Center. The executive director of Madison School and Community Recreation is facing a tentative possession of child pornography charge.
McFarland police say 44-year-old Jacob Tissue was arrested today and booked into the Dane County Jail. MSCR, the primary recreation provider for the Madison School District, including after school, summer school, and summer camps, among other programs. A letter sent out to MSCR staff within the last hour says Tissue was immediately placed on administrative leave. We will have more on this story as it develops tonight on Channel 3000 and News 3 Now at 10.
Lake Delton police arrested a suspect in an attempted child abduction investigation.
A man facing charges of abducting a child, physical abuse of a child, and burglary. Gabriela Becerra live in Lake Delton with more information and the police response. Gabby?
James Sellers, a 22-year-old, was arrested after allegedly breaking into a home in his own neighborhood and taking a 2-year-old girl from her bedroom. Police say that the suspect left the child outside and then took off. Officials say that the suspect's motive is still unclear other than the proximity of the home. And Lake Delton Police Department say there are about 300 homes in this neighborhood. They knocked on each door and conducted interviews. Detective Sean Posowitz says they were able to make the arrest with information from neighbors and evidence left at the scene.
This one was interesting for the fact that it was kind of the trifecta of evidence. We had biological in the form of DNA, we had latent fingerprint evidence, and we also had tread or footwear evidence on the outside of the residence.
Lake Delton Police Chief said a case like this one would normally take up to a year or longer to solve, but because of door knocking and a quick crime lab, they were able to make an arrest in only a few months. Police say that people in this neighborhood should not be worried, but that they should be taking extra safety precautions by locking their doors every night. I will have more, including reaction from neighbors, tonight on News 3 Now at 10.
Gabby, thank you.
Turning to weather, a chance of thunderstorms for some in our area tonight. Let's check your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Gary Canalti. Gary?
I think if there's any chance for thunderstorms, it'll be areas well south and east of Madison over about the next hour or so, but even that's iffy. So take a look at visible cloud tracking. You can see a line of clouds coming in from the northwest. We're expecting thunderstorms to develop along that line, and the Storm Prediction Center still had a slight risk of severe thunderstorms over southeastern Wisconsin. But look at where the storms developed. Over east central Wisconsin around Sheboygan, where there was a little bit of severe weather in the form of hail. Now those storms out over Lake Michigan, and nothing across southern Wisconsin. Temperatures are around 80 in Madison, but they are cooling off to the north and west with the passage of a cold front. Dew point temperatures are dropping rapidly too, so as the air dries out, the chances for rain go down, and those winds are shifting around to the northwest. So by tomorrow morning, temperatures will be down into the lower to middle 50s, but look for a sunny day tomorrow with a high temperature of 74. That's your News 3 Now First Alert forecast.
Gary, thanks. A McFarland teacher is not allowed on school property or even within village limits. This afternoon, a Dane County judge ordered Andrew Meeks to go on GPS monitoring for the next 4 weeks to ensure he doesn't violate the conditions of his bond. Meeks was arrested Tuesday night on tentative charges of child enticement, causing mental harm to a child, and exposing a child to harmful material. Now he's not allowed to contact the child accusing him or that child's family. He is also banned from having unsupervised contact with anyone under 16. Meeks has not been formally charged, but the prosecution will file a criminal complaint by his next court date next month.
Wisconsin health officials say THC vape products were involved in a majority of cases where people developed a severe lung disease from vaping. Of the 27 people DHS interviewed, 89% reported they had used vaping devices to inhale the psychoactive compound in marijuana, THC, before they got sick. Despite that finding, health officials say they are still investigating all possible causes of the illness. International Overdose Awareness Day is this Saturday. Different organizations in our community have been hosting special events all related to bringing awareness to the drug epidemic.
And that includes training people on how to use Narcan and how to recognize when someone around you is overdosing. Jamie Perez tells us how you can save someone's life in just a few minutes with the right tools.
A couple of days ago, we told you about what this white flag project means here along Atwood Avenue. Every single one of these flags represents someone who died from a fatal drug overdose. Community leaders are now holding public Narcan trainings so that we don't have to see anyone else die from a fatal overdose. This beautiful little girl, Morgan, is without her mother after she overdosed on heroin 2.5 years ago.
The mother of my granddaughters overdosed in March of 2017.
Morgan's grandma takes care of her now.
We have to figure out a way to end this.
Kim Myers said she wishes she had been more educated about how serious her daughter-in-law's addiction was.
The helplessness of, not being able to help.
With resources available now like Narcan, it may have saved Morgan's mom from fatally overdosing.
We need to be educated. It's when I was young, heroin was just something that was, it wasn't the people that you knew.
It's something public health officials agree with, and they're doing something about it and making it available to you.
It's just an easy nasal spray, 1 dose in each one of these little nose sprays here. You just simply push the plunger and it gets absorbed through their nose.
Public Health Madison and Dane County is partnering with Sunshine Place to host free public trainings on how to use Narcan and how to recognize the signs of someone who's overdosing.
But it takes a little bit for the chemicals to get to the brain, so that it might take a couple minutes for them to come out of their overdose.
We may not want to accept that this is reality, but it is. Tanya Craigie with Safe Communities knows this story all too well.
We've seen 150 people this year so far, approximately.
And this is just one organization that responds to calls that help save lives.
But they are now also using fentanyl to cut their cocaine and methamphetamines. And so we are seeing more overdose drug poisonings that result in death.
Why do you need to know how to use this? Overdoses can happen anywhere at any time, and you could be the one person around to help save that person's life.
I think at times it's sad that everybody needs to know, but at the same time, I think that's what's going to save lives.
To save lives, to keep families from going through. I mean, look at the flags, and I'm sure this doesn't even touch the amount of overdoses just in this area.
In Madison, I'm Jamie Perez, News 3 Now.
You don't need a prescription to buy Narcan at certain pharmacies in our area, and we have a link to those locations where you can get it, plus a link on how to sign up for the free public training at channel3000.com. The American Red Cross of Wisconsin says it'll be sending volunteers to Florida to help with preparation and also response to Hurricane Dorian. About 6 Wisconsin volunteers are expected to fly to Jacksonville tomorrow. From there, they'll be deployed to parts of Florida to help run shelters and prepare meals for those who will be displaced after the evacuations. They'll send additional volunteers if needed. A year after historic flooding poured into Sauk County homes, a new legislative effort aims to help communities prepare for such disasters.
Rose Schmidt shows us how Reedsburg has changed in the 365 days since, but how far it still has to go.
It'd be nice if they could give every homeowner over here a chance.
Living right next to Babb Creek, Eric Lovegreen feels like he hasn't really had one.
3 floods in the last 10 years, it's a lot.
2 rounds of flooding last August and September washed out much of his Reedsburg neighborhood, condemning multiple houses.
Fortunate we're able to live in our house, unlike some of the residents in Reedsburg.
A year ago, we couldn't even have walked on this trail because water from the Baraboo River covered this entire area. Now, state lawmakers want to make sure that if flooding like this ever happens again, communities are better prepared.
Time is money in a situation where there's a disaster.
A new bill from Senator Howard Markline and Representative Tony Kurtz aims to make it easier and faster to apply for disaster assistance from the federal agency FEMA. It would require all cities to sign up for a program that helps them get money from FEMA by June 2021.
We want to make sure that our communities are registered long before a natural disaster hits, and hopefully they'll never have to use it.
In communities like Reedsburg, city officials say they're still waiting on federal assistance.
We're a year out from the 2018 floods, and we still don't have funds coming back to us.
Emergency Management Director Josh Kowalski says it's tens of thousands of dollars, which is why he's hopeful to see the process streamlined.
The paperwork is very time-consuming. It's very labor-intensive. There's a lot of staff hours involved in this paperwork.
But paperwork translates into much more for those still reeling from the floods.
If we get another flood, it could really put us out.
Eric's applied for a buyout and says he's hoping his family will be able to move and start over on a property far away from water.
It's on top of the hill.
In Reedsburg, Rose Schmidt, News 3 Now.
The bill has just been formally introduced and has bipartisan support, with 2 Democrats signing on to a plan authored by Republicans.
Emergency responders in Baraboo will have another tool to utilize for search and rescue missions at Devil's Lake. Today, the rope rescue team learned how to extricate someone from the cliffs with the help of a military helicopter. Assistant Fire Chief Mark Willer says the most valuable part of the training is building relationships between first responders and National Guard soldiers.
A visitation and celebration of life have been scheduled for the Fitchburg teenager killed over the weekend. Police say 17-year-old Shay Watson died Sunday night after being shot in his home. 2 arrests have been made, and police are not releasing any information on possible suspects, citing the ongoing investigation. Watson's family says a visitation will be held at Gunderson Funeral Home on Chapel Valley Road in Highway PD. That's on Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. and Saturday afternoon from 1 o'clock to 2:30. A celebration of life will follow.
Next at 6, Madison police are offering safety tips to parents as the new school year gets underway.
And a gas station is helping Beaver Dam Middle School recover from a suspected drunk driving crash. We'll share how you can help.
With school starting in just a few days, many students will be walking or bicycling to class, which may cause extra hazards for drivers.
The City of Madison Police Department is tweeting #BackToSchool safety tips for drivers, bikers, and pedestrians. One of the department's traffic crash investigators, Samuel Breyer, says even if you have the right of way, it is important to make sure you are visible.
The injuries, we're talking about a vehicle versus a person, can be really catastrophic. And these injuries, especially in most of the cases I'm handling right now, are life-altering.
He says that especially with kids, it can be hard to tell how close cars are when you're crossing the street. Many schools have nearby crosswalks that flash lights to warn drivers of pedestrians, but it's still important to look both ways. More local news now. A Beaver Dam gas station is redesigning one of its gas pumps for a good cause. Jerry's Automotive posted on Facebook that it is donating 2 cents from every gallon pumped at the Spirit Pump to Beaver Dam schools. Every month, proceeds will go to a different school in the district. September proceeds will go to the middle school, and that's working on more than $500,000 in estimated repairs after a suspected drunk driver crashed into the building last week. More than 80 professionals have been brought in for the cleanup process. Today, district officials confirmed the middle school will be open for the first day of school on Tuesday, except for the gym, locker rooms, and library. Those still need work.
Coming up in sports, the Packers getting ready for their final preseason game kickoff against the Chiefs. Less than an hour away. Melissa Kim will have a preview live from Lambeau Field.
And a few shower chances tonight and during the Labor Day weekend. Gary will tell us when we might need the umbrella next in your First Alert forecast. Riding a bicycle can mean different things to different people. For one East Side resident, it's therapeutic, and it's her way of helping people who are battling a deadly disease. Kristen Matthews has lost too many friends to HIV/AIDS. In fact, around 15 since the 1980s. She knew she wanted to do something, so she started riding her bike to help raise money for AIDS research 20 years ago, and then decided to help start Madison's own ride 17 years ago.
I've become a ride leader. I mentor new riders. This year I was on the organizing committee of the ride, so I've been very, very involved. The community itself, it's an amazing group of people, and everybody's heart is in the right place.
Unfortunately, the number of riders has dwindled over the years. Tonight, in a special Do Something Good story, we'll share Kristen's story and how you can do something good by joining her in the fight against HIV/AIDS.
Gary Canalti joining us now, not only with a look at our local forecast as we head for the holiday weekend, but also keeping an eye on Hurricane Dorian, Gary.
Yeah, if you're going down to Florida or in the southeastern part of the country for the Labor Day weekend, keep a very close eye on this forecast. Dorian right now is a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 85 miles per hour north of Puerto Rico. But you can see the forecast track from the National Hurricane Center strengthens it into a Category 3 hurricane in about 24 hours and perhaps around a Category 4 hurricane as it passes the Bahamas and heads toward the east coast of Florida. This will be sometime on Monday into Tuesday as it moves over the central part of the Florida Peninsula. Taking a look at some of the very latest computer model forecast tracks, they're all pretty much clustered over the same general area, but notice at the end of the forecast tracks, they start moving it toward the north. So it's possible that Dorian or what's left of it will move through Georgia and the Carolinas and up much of the eastern seaboard early next week. But again, Florida appears to be in the crosshairs as most of the computer models are kind of clustered around the central portion of Florida, giving high confidence to the forecast, at least in the next few days. Around here, we're watching this line of clouds with a cold front, thinking that there was the possibility for some strong thunderstorms that could develop along it. And they did, but not around here. And the Storm Prediction Center, while it still has a slight risk of severe thunderstorms over southeastern Wisconsin, I think the chances for even rain are almost nothing unless your area south and east of Dane County, and that's only about for the next hour or so. There were a couple of reports of hail up around Sheboygan, around an inch of diameter hailstones, but those storms moved out over Lake Michigan and never developed farther to the south. Live view from the WISC Skycam, skies are clearing out nicely. The Edgewater Skycam looking toward the southeast, showing the cumulus clouds to the south and east. If there are any showers that develop, they'll be out of those clouds, and again, that'll be well south and east of Dane County. High today, 82. Low temperature started out cool at 51 because the air was dry this morning, but it became more humid this afternoon. We're at 80 now, but the winds have shifted to the west-northwest behind the cold front at 13 miles per hour. Dew point temperature was in the mid-60s. It's dropped into the upper 50s, and the air continues to dry out pretty dramatically. So while temperatures are still in the low to mid-80s through southern Wisconsin, they're already down in the 60s across much of northern and central Minnesota. And look at how the dew point temperatures are falling from the mid-60s in Milwaukee to the mid-40s up in northern Minnesota, where temperatures will probably fall into the 40s tonight. But the northwesterly winds continuing will bring down cooler air for tomorrow, so high temperatures will be back in the mid-70s. Any lingering shower thunderstorm chances will be gone in about the next hour or so. Otherwise, 52 for the overnight low temperature with clear skies. Tomorrow, look for a sunny day, a little cooler, high temperature at 74. Future track shows skies clearing out overnight. Low temperatures in the lower 50s. High temperatures tomorrow topping out in the mid-70s with plenty of sunshine. Clouds start moving in tomorrow night, but right now we've taken the rain out of the forecast for tomorrow night with lows in the mid-50s. And I think on Saturday, the best chances of any showers are going to be in the afternoon, mainly from Madison southward. Much of the day may stay dry now with high temperatures in the upper 60s to around 70. Look for temperatures to gradually climb into the lower 80s once we get past Labor Day into Tuesday, and then a little bit of a cool down toward the middle part of next week.
How much will weather affect the Badger football team before and after its game in Tampa tomorrow? We'll talk about it in sports. It's the final preseason game for the Packers. They're at Lambeau Field to play the Kansas City Chiefs tonight just after 7 o'clock. Speaking of Lambeau Field, we go there live where Melissa Kim has a look ahead to tonight on what we might and might not see. Hi, Melissa.
Yeah, hey, good evening there, Jay. Yeah, the full version of the Packers offense won't debut until next week, next Thursday night when the Packers open their regular season in Chicago. So that means probably, most likely, we will not see Aaron Rodgers tonight. Now, the offense as a whole, the first-team offense has never played together as a full unit, but the players think they're ready to roll with Matt LaFleur's new system. That starts with Rodgers, who said the tempo's been high, efficiency's been good, and the practices, well, they've been clean.
Bakhtiari actually pulled me aside towards the end of this practice, and he said, it's looking pretty good out there. What are we doing differently? I said, well, we're finally kind of running all of our stuff. You know, it's all kind of in at this point, so the package to choose from is a lot bigger, and you know, it's been fun to see the execution and guys making plays. So I like where we're at offensively.
Excuse me. So all of the starters are expected to sit tonight, and the Packers, they've got some pretty big decisions to make. They have to make their cuts for the final 53-man roster by this Saturday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So guys like Deshaun Kaiser and Tim Boyle, tonight's game is going to be really important for them because it's the last chance they have to impress General Manager Brian Gutekunst.
All right, that's Melissa Kim live at Lambeau Field in Green Bay tonight. Thanks. The Badger football team flew to Florida today. They're settling down in Tampa tonight. The season opener is tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Madison time. That'll be on ESPN. The weather forecast for Tampa tomorrow night, hot and humid, 50% chance of thunderstorms. Now, we've had some hot days this summer in Wisconsin, but going to that Florida heat to play a football game, well, that could be a challenge.
We're going to probably this year face all different types of weather conditions or things outside your control. It is a real thing, right? And we got to make sure that we do all that we can in preparing for it. But I think you've got to embrace it. But it will be, you know, there's a chance, I should say, for it being a real factor. And we've got to be able to manage it, and the kids have to manage it and make the best of it.
The Badgers don't think they'll be affected by Hurricane Dorian in their trip to Florida. The Badgers will fly back to Madison right after the game. They should be back in town in the wee hours of Saturday morning, well before Dorian hits the mainland. The Prep Mania High School Football Game of the Week is a great early season matchup. It's only week 2 of the year, but Verona and Middleton could have lots of ramifications for the conference title race and even into the playoffs. We'll have the Wildcats and Cardinals tomorrow night live on channel3000.com at 7 o'clock. And we've also been working some things out with schools to live stream their games on channel3000.com as well. This week, we're going to have 3 more games for you. Beaver Dam at Oregon, Waunakee and Stoughton, and Reedsburg at Monona Grove. That's all channel3000.com tomorrow night. We thank the high schools for their cooperation.
Yeah, that's kind of a new thing. Working out. More games, the better, right?
Yeah.
Let's get them all.
Hey, what the heck?
Yeah. All right. Gary, final check.
Well, you know, we're watching to see if storms would develop. I think the chances are dwindling minute by minute right now as a cold front moves through southern Wisconsin. Temperatures still around 80 in Madison, but notice they are cooling off toward the north and west. And those dew point temperatures that were in the mid-60s earlier have dropped back into the 50s and even some 40s to our north and west. So look for another cooler night tonight with temperatures back down into the low 50s. High tomorrow, mid-70s. Rain chance on Saturday, mainly south of Madison in the afternoon. Hopefully right now it stays pretty spotty. And then dry weather for Sunday and Labor Day Monday with high temperatures back around 80. A little more humidity Tuesday with some thunderstorm chances. And then highs mainly in the mid-70s for the rest of next week with some thunderstorm chances Thursday and Friday.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 6.
Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you here after the game.